Hey all, Mr. Rip here. Just wanted to do a quick review on Ul'Gosh the Herald. I don't see many people playing this, but I really like this guy. He's a bit nasty looking, but I think you can see that his abilities kind of fit. His appearance and the description kind of fits. But unfortunately, it takes a little bit of investment, so I think that's maybe why he's not so popular, right? You got to do a little bit of investment to get to his full potential. But with his tear, which is deep tear, which is a stun for 6 seconds and then a 40% increase in damage to enemies, I think he's just a great tank when paired with the right team. So let's go ahead and take a look at his skills here. So let's take a look at his ultimate. So Gory Slaughter. He gets a passive resistance to knockback, and after 2 layers of terror are applied to enemies, he gets that deep terror state with the enemy, right, which is a 5-second stun. His active ability is a shockwave that deals 320% attack damage to nearby enemies, and then interrupts their casting and applies 1 layer of terror. So immediately you can see with that nearby enemies, you're going to need to pair him with someone who can group the enemies, like maybe Derwin, or better yet, Nefertari, who has an ultimate and talents that pull the enemies towards the center and can kind of prep them for Ul'Gosh's stun. But let's see, at level 3, the duration jumps to 6 seconds, and the enemies under Deep Terror receive 40% more damage. So that's a real nice added advantage there. So let's look at Crimson Vigor. Okay, this provides a shield that negates 280% of his own attack damage and lasts for 8 seconds. After 8 seconds, that shield transferred to the weakest ally, granting them the shield for an additional 8 seconds. At level 3, that value jumps to 360%. So not too shabby. Titanic Grasp, that pulls the enemy towards them. It interrupts their casting and does 140% attack, followed by another 120% attack damage to enemies directly in front of him. And then at level 4 damage, that slam increases to 160. So again, he does that damage directly in front of him, so it's important that you group those enemies for him. And then let's look at Infernal Barrier. I really like this skill. At the beginning of battle, he gains a shield that negates up to 15% of his max HP, and then that shield refreshes every 10 seconds. And at level 3, when Ul'Gosh has any shield, he receives damage reduction of 50%. So think about it. Any support caster that's shielding him, any other caster that does a shield, when you're CH and you hit those particular milestones where just casting provides a shield, I mean, this has some pretty good benefits, even at the higher level when you have a high deficit in some of these PvE, when you're fighting a billion power team. So he comes in pretty handy. And so let's take a look at his talents. So T1, Bloodthirst. When Infernal Barrier refreshes, remember that's the shield that refreshes every 10 seconds and reduces his damage by 50% at level 3. His next attack is going to deal 240% attack damage to enemies in the frontal area. Again, got to group those enemies. Also inflicts another tear mark, and that's key because it takes 2 tear marks to get into that 6-second stun from his ultimate, and then have that added 40% increase in damage to those enemies. So let's see, and then his T2, his T2 will also steal 70 ACC and 15 AGI from the struck enemy for another 6 seconds. So again, this guy isn't super popular. I don't see him used a lot. Some people use him in PvP, probably because of the investment required, but I really like to pair him up with this specific team. So I like to use Kol'Gaz because he taunts the enemies and kind of gathers them for Ul'Gosh. So you can see some of the abilities or skills I just reviewed kind of require him to be gathered, so you can do the most damage. And when he's gathering those enemies, he's immune to damage for 4 seconds, and that's long enough for them to be feared by Wajeda, or maybe stunned by Ul'Gosh, or pulled to the center by a Nefertari. And so with this team, there's a lot of cross-functional support, pulling enemies together, stunning the enemies, AoEing the enemies, or fearing them. And then, Excessium's also going after the highest attack. So it's really kind of, nullifying the attack for the enemy team, and then really just kind of grouping them, stunning them, fearing them. So I really like this team. But so I think it works pretty well together. But if you have any suggestions or thoughts, please share them. Again, this is just my two coppers on what I like to do and how I like to group them. If you have anything else, any improvements or recommendations, please share. We can all get better and have fun playing the game. So good luck out there. Take care.